for a conversation about AI and the future of humanity. Please welcome Mira Murati, the Chief Technology Officer for OpenAI. Here to lead the discussion is the Atlantic staff writer Ross Andersen.
Mira, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here.
I've gotten to know you a little bit, and I want our audience to get to know you a bit. And so I thought that we'd take you 5 years into the past. It's 2018, great year, pre-pandemic. And you, by that time, had worked at Leap Motion, amazing augmented reality company. You'd worked at Tesla for 3 years. And at the time, OpenAI is like this little dinky kind of think tanky company in Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
Nobody's heard of it except like nerdy types like me. And you decide to sort of stake your future on it. Tell us about that choice.
Yeah, so maybe on a quick biographical note, I've always been interested in math and science in general. And so, in a way, I was always interested in thinking and how thinking develops. But computers didn't really come into my life until later. I grew up in Albania, and so I was really interested in actually solving problems and figuring out how to build technologies that would help us shape our lives in some positive way, in some form. And I started by working in aerospace after studying engineering, and then went on to Tesla, where I worked on Model X. And after getting a taste for how to apply AI to self-driving cars, I started thinking about other applications of AI, and particularly in how we interact with technology in general, and started thinking about spatial computing, virtual reality, augmented reality, and how the great potential that has in expanding our thinking and helping us think better about very abstract concepts like chaos theory or the shape of molecules. And imagine if you could just intuitively grasp these concepts the way that we do a football, by just interacting with these concepts in a natural way, just like we interact with our physical space. And so that's what took me into virtual reality and augmented reality. And I think that was a bit early in terms of the readiness of technology to do something real with it. But that kind of got me thinking more about general applications of AI and how far you can push these narrow applications. And so started getting really interested in thinking about general AI, what we now call AGI. And at the time, DeepMind and OpenAI were working on AGI. And to me, it was very obvious that OpenAI was going to be the place where I wanted to be because of its mission, which was to, and still is, to develop general artificial intelligence in a way that it benefits humanity. So I joined when it was a nonprofit, and since then we've sort of changed the structure a bit so that we can raise enough funding to get the compute that we need to actually develop these technologies. But we're still a capped profit, so that kind of limits the profit the company makes, and then everything above a certain amount goes still to the nonprofit. And at the time, in 2018, OpenAI was very much a research lab. There are a lot of exciting projects going on, but it was still, there wasn't thinking going on about developing a product or deploying these technologies out there. It was very much a research lab. And just before that, in 2017, DeepMind had developed AlphaGo, and so we saw these systems that were really great at strategy games. These AI systems that were great at really very hard games for the first time. But AI was very much in the game space. We were still kind of operating in from Atari games into strategy games, and that was really the space. We had not gone too much into language understanding. That was yet to come in 2019.
Yeah, and you've gone quite a bit ways into language understanding, and I know one of the things that falls under your personal fiefdom at OpenAI is ChatGPT. And this week, you all announced that very soon we'll all be able to talk to ChatGPT and have it talk back to us. And maybe this is just me, but I sort of hate talking to Siri and Alexa. And so I'm wondering why I will like talking to ChatGPT.
So I wonder why you hate talking to those other systems. It's probably because, you know, the interaction is not very natural. They don't really talk back seamlessly, or the understanding, it's difficult. So it kind of breaks your experience and the immersion that you have with the technology, and maybe even the trust that you have that, you know, it will respond back, it will actually understand you, it will be this very natural, high bandwidth interaction. You know, very similar to how you talk to a colleague or how we're talking right now. And so that is really the goal, you know, to interact with these AI systems in a way that's actually natural, that in a way that you'd collaborate with someone, and it's high bandwidth. You know, you could talk in text, just exchange messages, or we could talk like this, or I could show an image and say, hey, look, I got all these business cards when I was in the Hill in these meetings. Can you just put them in, you know, my contacts list, something like this? Yes. And you know, you have this very rich and natural way of interacting with the technology. So that is really the goal. We want to kind of move further away from our current interaction, which is very, you know, we sort of slave to the keyboard and this the touch mechanism of the phone. And if you really think about it, that hasn't really been revolutionized in decades. And we have these technologies that are capable of so much more. And it seems like the first thing to unlock these capabilities is how we interact with them. And so this week we introduced a few more technologies and really a different way of interacting with AI systems through audio, much more improved DALL-E system, and bringing those in ChatGPT. And ChatGPT provides this interface that's very easy to interact with. You can kind of go back and forth with the system, and you can say, hey, you got this wrong, can you try again? And you can kind of get a little bit of insight into what's going on, even when the system gets the answer wrong. So it's very powerful, sort of this like teacher-student method, a little bit of, you know, Socratic type of method.
Can you tell us about like a fun conversation that you've had with ChatGPT? So presumably you've been using the voice version.
Yes, I usually use the voice version when I'm, you know, walking around and I'm not typing, or when I'm in the car. So yeah, fun conversations. That let me see. What I mean, usually I use it for work, and so it's, you know, interesting and fascinating, and I'll usually ask it to maybe explain something. Or help me understand what's going on with something, kind of go back and forth. Yesterday, I was doing a demo, and I asked it to make an illustration of a kid's story that had, you know, dinosaurs and unicorns, that it was in space, and it kind of made this really crazy stuff. And then I was like, well, can you edit the dinosaurs and make it more interactive? And it was making this like really fun and crazy illustrations, really creative, really cool. It was sort of entertaining.
Yeah, is there, if it's the case, as you say, that this experience of talking to AIs is about to get a lot more compelling, is there some risk that companies, not OpenAI of course, but other companies might sort of tune these up and optimize them for engagement the way that, say, Instagram and TikTok are optimized for engagement, and that they might actually become addictive?
Definitely. Yes, even more addictive than the systems that we have today because, we're introducing things like longer memory or personalization. And so these systems will have a much better grasp at, the things that you want, the things that are relevant to you, and the things that will ultimately actually help you in day-to-day life. I would love a system like that, but obviously with the capability and this enhanced capabilities comes also the other side, the possibility that we design them in the wrong way and they become extremely addictive and we sort of become enslaved to them. So we have to be extremely thoughtful in how we develop them, really study how people are using them, how we're engaging, what it does to our daily lives, to society, and respond to that. So I think we have to be very careful with how we deploy these systems and really learn from this iterative engagement that we have with them, because we really don't know out of the box. We have to discover and we have to learn and we have to explore, but there is certainly a pretty significant risk in developing them wrong in a way that really doesn't enhance our lives, and in fact it introduces more risk.
So far we've been interacting with ChatGPT with our phones and on our computers. Earlier this week, it was reported that you all are talking to Johnny Ive, the Apple designer, about the possibility of a device. What should we be imagining? Is that like a speaker? Is that an earbud?
Okay, so I won't really speculate on the hardware stuff or on the news this week, but what I can give you a sense of is sort of what the future might look like and what we should expect.
Yeah.
So, we in 2019 we had GPT-3, and there was the first time that we had AI systems that kind of showed some sense of language understanding. Before that, we didn't think it was really possible that AI systems would get this language understanding. In fact, we were really skeptical that was the case, and we were kind of exploring only the games world. And now it's 2023. It's not, it's been a really short time. So you can kind of see the rate of technological progress has been incredibly steep. And in fact, when we had GPT-3 in 2019, we were sort of still questioning whether, there were, and even today, we're still questioning whether these systems are really reasoning or there is real creativity going on. But we can all see that they're actually useful in our daily lives and they're being introduced into our business world. They're creating value in many domains. They're entertaining, they're fun to interact with. And I think this became kind of more obvious to the public beyond just the tech world when we introduced ChatGPT, which is an interface that's super easy to interact with. And at that moment, in my mind, if you sort of travel in the future and look back at milestones for AI, there was a really significant inflection point, because it made the capabilities of these AI systems more accessible to everyone out there. And not only the capabilities, but also, the risks and the limitations. Now, a lot of people understand what a hallucination of an AI system means, for example. And so that is very significant, because as we introduce these systems into our daily lives, into our infrastructure, we all need to be very thoughtful about how that actually evolves, and not just the technical infrastructure, but the social infrastructure to make that go well. And so looking ahead, I think there's going to be, these systems will become increasingly more capable. We're looking at bringing all the modalities of text and code and video and images, everything into one system. And the idea behind that is that we want these systems to have a higher understanding. Ultimately, that's where we're going. We're trying to build this generally intelligent system, and what's missing right now is new ideas, a system that can generate a new idea. That means that, to generate a completely new idea, like theory of general relativity, you need to have the capability of abstract thinking. And so that's really where we're going, towards these systems that will eventually be able to help us with extremely hard problems, not just collaborate alongside us, but do things that, today we're not able to do at all.
I didn't hear about a device there. Maybe you could blink once for a speaker. Look, since we've hauled you out here to our imperial capital, I do want to ask you a question about politics. You may have noticed that the last few federal elections we've had here have been quite contested, the results. And you all, along with other companies, have put out software that can generate genuinely photorealistic images about just about anything. And that could be a rival candidate, committing some nefarious act, or someone throwing away ballots at a polling station. And I just wonder, at this time when democracy, when people's attitudes towards democracy is that it is so fragile, what are you all doing to make sure that your technology does not undermine people's feelings about elections?
Yeah, so I think even if we were not in this context, it would still be incredibly important to roll out these systems slowly, and understand what the risks are, what the limitations are, try to build in more robustness into the mitigations, and then expand from there. I don't think it's possible to aim for zero risks. I don't think that's realistic, but what we want to do is really minimize the level of risk that this technology poses, or these technologies pose. The way that I think about it is usually in terms of trade-offs, like how much value is this technology providing in the real world, and how much can we really mitigate the risks. So if we think about, say, GPT-4 in ChatGPT or in some other deployments, yes, certainly one of the biggest risks is hallucination. So the ability of the model to really make up stuff, and it can do so in quite a convincing way, quite persuasive. And so we really want to minimize that. And there is a ton of focus at OpenAI, but also more broadly in the industry, to do just that. How do you increase the reliability and the accuracy of these models? And when we launched GPT-4, we took about 6 months to just focus on safety, which means that's kind of a broad term to describe a lot of things in AI, and we need to build more accurate taxonomy around actually what safety means. But in this case, what it means is really focusing on the accuracy and the reliability of the model. And one way to do that, actually there are a few ways, but one way is through reinforcement learning with human feedback. So we bring our feedback to these AI systems, and you can ask a question, and you can kind of go back and forth, and you can correct the system when it's getting it wrong, and you can sort of guide it towards the right answer, similar to really teacher-student interaction, that kind of dynamic. And these systems respond really well to that. And so, in fact, this is actually why we launched ChatGPT initially. We launched it because we wanted this feedback from researchers to help us make GPT-4 more accurate, more reliable, less prone to hallucinations. And obviously then afterwards we discovered that people actually really enjoy interacting with the technology, and went viral, which also led us into other directions, and in fact, the whole industry. But reinforcement learning with human feedback is very powerful in making these systems more accurate, more reliable, less prone to hallucinations. And another lever is to actually introduce fresh information. So often, these models are done training, that is all data, so it doesn't have information from today. And so if you ask a question about what's going on, like summarize what's happening in the world today, that would be pretty difficult. And in that case, maybe the model should say, I don't know, instead of making up stuff. But we hallucinate all the time too. We make up stuff, and so sometimes people also have very unrealistic expectations of what AI should do that we don't have for ourselves. But
can I ask you like a specific question about that, which is with some combination of browsing, which is what I assume you're getting at, with the models being able to go on the internet and find new information, and training them on massively new large data sets, is it possible that, say, 2-3 years from now, we could have not perfect accuracy, as you say, but like Wikipedia level accuracy?
It should do better than that, right? It should do better than that. It should be more scientific level accuracy. Where you can really trace back the pieces of information, ideally, or at least understand why, through reasoning, sort of like a chain of thought, understand why the system got to that kind of answer. So I would hope that we're going for something much better than that. But today we do have the ability to kind of browse what's going on and bring this freshness of information, which obviously increases accuracy. There is a lot more happening, but I think reinforcement learning with human feedback can get us really far along with addressing hallucination for text. And then, going back to your original question around elections and misinformation, we're also working on basically addressing the provenance of information, so understanding whether a piece of information is AI generated or not. And you can do that with text, you can do that with pixels. It doesn't really matter what the modality is. So we're doing a lot of research, both OpenAI, but also I know other companies are working on this as well. It's a really important problem, that of actually understanding the provenance of information. And then how you roll that out and the policy around that, that's a bit different because it affects both users and non-users. And so we're gonna have to make some hard decisions for how we actually bring this to the public.
I want to ask you a question about education. I know it's a passion of yours. This is one of the areas where we've seen like an actually really immediate impact from AI, from ChatGPT in particular. So much so that I gather that ChatGPT usage actually dips in the summer when school is out. And a lot of those students that are using it the way that you and I use it, which is sort of as a like kind of an expert in every topic, right? That we can talk to at any time and can explain things to us. But some of them are also using it on their homework, right? Like just to manufacture assignments. And I just wonder, when you look at the future, how do you think that nets out? Like, what does that trade-off look like a few years from now?
So I think in many ways we'll probably have to kind of change how we teach. But the upside is that it really changes how we learn. And this is probably the most important thing. It's actually very difficult to learn how to learn. It takes us so many years, and some people figure it out after decades. That's the most important thing. And depending of where you study, where you go to school, that's often not the main focus, and it's a very difficult thing. It requires a lot of personalized and customized type of teaching. And right now you've got a teacher in a classroom of 30 students. It's impossible to customize the learning, the information to how they best learn. And this is what AI can offer. It can offer this, personalized tutor that customizes learnings and teachings to you, to how you best perceive and understand the world. So that's incredibly powerful because it can really increase our, just collective intelligence. But of course, there is this downside that, if you bring these technologies to the way that we currently learn and study, then yeah, it does create these issues of people using it to, copy homework and things like that. So I do think we need to figure out how we do this, how do we change the education system, the way that we teach, to kind of minimize the downsides and encourage people to actually use it in a way that is beneficial and it's great and it's enhancing. I've already heard from university professors that they're thinking of removing concept of grades from some of their classes, because then this would allow students to focus more on actually learning and using, and I heard from them that they would actually encourage the use of ChatGPT, so it's, students would actually use it to learn and to do a much better job and would not focus so much on actually getting the grades, a higher grade. So, I mean, I'm not an expert in education, but I think we have to be creative, and we will have to adapt. Society will have to adapt to these new technologies.
It occurs to me that an AI that can write convincing college papers might be quite competitive at a lot of jobs, maybe even mine. When I talked to Sam, your CEO, earlier this year, he was quite frank about this, right? He says, jobs are going to go away. And I know that you all spent a lot of time thinking about the implications of this technology. And so internally, just what does that look like? Is that oh, don't worry, people in DC will sort of develop new social programs that'll blunt that? Because if so, we should talk about DC. Or are you imagining some other way out of this problem?
So I think this is actually the first point I would make, is that this is why it's so important to bring these technologies into the collective consciousness, so people understand the impact, not from papers, not from articles, but from living them and really seeing how it affects your job, how it affects your life, and adapting to this change, because it's incredibly rapid. It's completely unprecedented, and it affects everything, because intelligence is such a universal unit. It will really change everything. And so we need everyone to understand what we're doing and what we're building, and sort of make this available to people and make it accessible, sort of slowly, and do so safely and thoughtfully. But it's important to actually bring it out there. And yes, it will, jobs will be lost, some jobs will be created, but just like every major revolution, I think a lot of jobs will be lost. There will be probably a bigger impact than on jobs and in any other revolution, and we have to prepare for this new way of life. Like maybe we work much less, maybe the work week changes entirely. Okay, so then how do people live? There are ideas being explored around UBI. We probably have to be creative and think about other social programs as well. I know there is a lot of engagement right now with DC on these topics and understanding the impact on workforce and such, but we don't have the answers. We're going to have to figure them out along the way, and I think it's going to require a lot of work and thoughtfulness.
Mira, thank you for being with us today. That's great.
Thank you so much.